You may have heard talk of trails getting too easy, or maybe that they've been dumbed down. It's often said in a negative light with a cynical tone, and usually by more experienced riders. They'll complain that mountain biking isn't what it used to be, and reminisce about the good old days. But much of the time, there are good reasons for these types of changes to trails. They may have suffered from years of erosion and a reroute is necessary. Or maybe mountain bike culture has evolved and riding styles have changed. Or maybe a feature is too advanced for most riders coming down the trail. And it's this last reason that I'm going to be dumbing down the trail I've been working on. One of the first features we built on the trail was the Yukan Do It Drop, a 7-foot drop with no easy option around it. Directly after it is an 18-foot double. Both these features are solidly in the double black territory. Since the trail is intended to be black in difficulty with optional double black features, a line needed to be created around the drop for those that don't want to do the big stunts. So, I flagged a line around those stunts and started to clear it out. Often, the way around big stunts can just be an afterthought. But since 90% of the people riding the trail will likely not be doing the stunts, I wanted to make this line just as fun, if not more fun, than the Yukan Do It Drop. So, next to the Yukan Do It Drop, the trail will split off and head towards a rocky area. There will be a high line option on top of a rock shelf, or a low line option next to the shelf. After that, there will be a small optional rock drop. From there, I'll dig a big, dumb downhill berm and follow it up with another berm. After this berm, the trail will reconnect at the jump after the Yukan Do It Drop. At this point, there will be some kind of takeoff that will utilize the same landing as the jump. With the trail mostly cleared, I began working on the big berm. It's a downhill berm, and it's something I've been wanting to build for a long time. There's just something about a berm that you just kind of fall into, catches you, and spits you out the other side. I'll call it the Big Dumb Berm, since it will turn over 180 degrees and requires a massive amount of digging. It's a lot of work, and it took me 3 full days to do the majority of the digging. After finishing up the end of the first berm, I started to work on the second berm just after it. The second berm is quite downhill as well, but this one won't have the G out like the first one has. As the lip at the end of the second berm started to take shape, you'll notice that I filled the gap for the double with rocks. This is one of those dumbing it down for safety things. When we built the double after the drop, we had a couple of close calls when Bobby cased the landing. It basically threw him over the bars and straight into the berm after. Since this is going to be a public trail, I want this to be a little safer by filling the gap to prevent the harsh case that Bobby experienced. Well, the new exit to the ride around is finished, and it looks pretty awesome. I don't know, I always get so excited when these things get done, and I just want to ride them, and hopefully they work how I think they'll work. But yeah, I wanted the ride around to be better or as good as the drop, and I think it's going to be that way. So yeah, there'll be a little something for everybody to ride here. The next day, after a light dusting of snow, it was time to test out the berms and the new lip. First try. It doesn't roll very fast right now. Eventually it's going to roll fast. After a couple of passes, I realized that part of the first berm needed to be built up as I was riding it really close to the edge. And the lip at the end where the two trails reconnect also needed a rethink. The next day, the weather left us a present overnight. Well, we're back on the trail today. Yeah, as you can see, it snowed again. But luckily I was able to ride it yesterday and I know exactly what I need to do today. So you can see my tire marks are in the berm still from yesterday. And right around here, I'm like getting pretty close to the top of the berm. So I'm gonna chuck some more dirt on top of that, and just to give you more confidence going around, because basically once this berm packs up, you want to be no brakes, and to be able to do that, you need to be confident that you're not going to go over top of the berm. So more confident berm is basically a bigger berm. A lot of times when it comes to mountain bike features, you can do what you think is best, but then when it comes to ride it, you become educated very quickly about what its shortcomings are. So yeah, this is just part of the progress, and you know, I'm no super builder or anything, but every time I build something, I learn something new, and I improve for next time. So it's just the learning process. At the top of the new line, there was more work to do. So with the drop right there and the entrance to the ride around right here, I want to build a bit of a berm. I think it'll be an easy one to build just because it's already on the hill, hopefully. Sometimes I think it's easier and it's not. Well, I thought the berm was going to be easy to dig, but there was a stump hiding underground. My absolute favorite thing to pull out. I tried to winch it out, but it held strong. So the chainsaw came to the rescue. And with the stump removed, I could finish up the berm and work on creating trail at the rock line. And then creating a landing after the small drop. Well, we're back on the trail, and I want to fix this takeoff right behind me. So for my test ride, this takeoff was a little short. I kind of want to extend it, but doing so with dirt would be... The problem is when people are going to ride over this edge, they're going to drag the dirt down, and you're not going to have a nice edge to pop off of. So I think we need to fix that by using wood. So I just want to put like a little, just really small, just out to here, little wooden lip, then you'll be able to make it to the landing. To make a wooden drop, I needed some wood. Luckily for me, there was plenty nearby in the form of a still standing dead cedar tree. All I needed to do was cut it down. I then bucked it up into pieces and moved them to the worksite. I then nailed the sleeper to the posts using 10-inch spikes. The dead tree would also become the stringers I needed for the feature. A rough piece of cedar would become the beam I needed to go between the stringers and the posts. Next, I added some cross bracing to remove any potential movement from the structure. And some stringers were required for the roll down option. So now that I got the frame more or less finished, it's time to split some rungs. And those rungs would come from a moss-covered log laying nearby in the forest. With the wood completely saturated with water, the round was too heavy to move on my own. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just split it in half. There's already kind of a natural crack going in here, so I might try to split it like that. Then that way we can get a couple pieces out of it. Using the power of the wedge, the log split easily, making it easier to work with. The inside, however, had a surprise waiting for me. So it's split apart, and check out how cool it is inside. It's all this like resin, just all solid. Ah, so cool. Never seen that before. By using a froe and some wedges, the heavy log slowly became the cedar rungs I needed for the bridge. Even when broken up into pieces, these rungs were still super heavy. It's amazing how much water wood can hold. As I cleaned up each rung and arranged them on the bridge, Yuka arrived with a treat. Oh wow, what did you make?
Donut.
Oh, it looks really good.
Good?
Really nice. You made this in the van?
Yes.
Wow.
Okay.
I then decked the drop until dark. Once again, I had bitten off more than I could chew, and it would take another day to finish the feature. Luckily, the following day, Yuka came out to help. Well, it keeps snowing. I wish it would stop, but we'll get the feature done today, and we'll try ride it today as well. So Yuka's out here to help me nail down this roll down section, and I just got to fill in a little bit of dirt there and maybe fix up a couple other things, and we'll ride it. I then trimmed the roll down to give space for the double next to it. The entrance and exit needed some dirt to create a smooth transition on and off the feature. The new line around those big stunts was now finally complete. All I had to do was ride it. The first big obstacle would be the rock drop. It's not massive or anything, it's just that the entrance into it is a little techy and covered in snow. Oops, I wrecked the trail. But eventually I pushed through the fear and the snow. The next big obstacle would be to send the wooden drop. The drop itself wasn't really the problem though, it was the snow-covered berms after it. Okay, I'm coming! But I went in without fear.
Oh, you okay?
I crashed! Oh, I was too aggressive with this corner. It's, the snow is so wet right now. I thought there's a good chance I'll crash by the end of this test session. This was one of those times where I wasn't scared to hit the drop at first, but with my crash in that snowy berm, my sense of self-preservation kicked in, and the best I could do was roll the drop after the fact. In the end, I did manage to hit the drop without crashing in the berms after it. Now that I've dumbed down the trail a little, I think it's also gotten a little better. And while I think many riders will enjoy the Yukan Do It Drop, I think the line around it may be even more compelling, even though it's not as big. The line itself is quite a bit longer, it has some interesting rock features, 2 big dumb berms, and a wooden drop with the option to roll. Choosing between the Yukan Do It Drop and the big dumb line is going to be a hard choice to make when I'm riding the trail in the future. And that's what I think I'll call it, the big dumb line. And speaking of names, in my last video I moved a big heavy rock and turned it into a jump. It's one of the more unique features on the trail, and I figured it deserved its own name. I asked you guys to give your best ideas for the name, and you all came out in droves. So many in fact that I narrowed it down to 10 of my favorites and asked my patrons to vote again for the name. Out of the 10 options I gave them, Not Too Slabby came out on top. So from now on, when talking about it, we'll call it the Not Too Slabby Rock Jump. But, as always, thanks for watching and stay gnarly.